Well, I started playing guitar, I'm pretty sure I was 9 years old. Somebody at school asked me if I would teach them a little bit about playing guitar, and I didn't even think about it. I thought, well, I guess I could show you some stuff. So I went over to his house and started going once a week. And since then, I've been giving lessons nonstop. Then something really kind of off the wall happened. I was in the store teaching one day. This kind of harried, frantic guy comes in and says, "Hey, I got to take guitar lessons."
TG kind of was an accident. I just moved to Silicon Valley. I was working on various businesses, and at the end of each year I set goals. And one of the goals I'd set was to learn guitar. And I saw a sign for Joplin and Sweeney guitar teachers. So I went up these creaky little stairs, and I walked in, and there was this guy sitting there with a Hawaiian shirt on and without shoes and shorts. I just instantly felt comforted and welcomed by him. We sat down and I had a quick chat, and in my typical fashion at the time, I was like, I want to learn guitar. I'll be here every day for an hour, 5 days a week. I want to be proficient in 3 to 6 months, blah, blah, blah. And I want to learn these songs. And he's like, well, that's not how it works. It works, you have to go home and practice.
But something about this character really intrigued me.
We started our journey, started teaching, and we became friends. And I saw what a brilliant teacher he was. Probably one of the best teachers I've ever experienced in any subject, if not the best.
Over a period of time, he's progressing pretty well as a guitar player. He makes it to about 2/3 of his lessons, has to cancel maybe the other third at the last minute because of something, whatever it is he does, he's very busy. We just went on about our business, and a few months later, he came into a lesson. He said, "You know what? I want to talk to you about something." And he said, "I'm tired of all these web businesses I'm in. What I really want to do is have a guitar site. What do you think about giving video guitar lessons?" And I thought, wow, that's really, I never really thought about it.
YouTube was a fledgling media channel at the time, and it occurred to me that we could test the waters with his teaching skills and maybe create a business, because as a guitar teacher you really struggle one-on-one.
The idea of giving a lesson to a video camera was I don't think so. I think one of my strengths as a guitar teacher is that every lesson I do is really geared towards what's going on with the student and what's going on inside their head. So he says, well, here's what we do. Hey, all we have to do is get together a list of people that are interested in however we're going to turn this into a business. And in the meantime, start making some videos where you give a little bit of the lesson, and we'll put that up at YouTube, and tell them that they have to come over to Totally Guitars to, which I think he just come up with the name probably right then on the spot as we were having this conversation. They just have to at least sign up, give us their email address, so that when we have a plan, we'll hit them with it. So I started putting together a whole bunch, and these are all still at YouTube. There's hundreds of them, where part 1's at YouTube, part 2 is on the free side at Totally Guitars. Pretty soon we had a really substantial list of people that were interested in my lessons. So as this was going on, Matt, and another crew of people sort of behind the scenes were working on the infrastructure that was really needed to create a web-based business where the visible side of it is really just me giving guitar lessons, but that's probably about 10 or 15% of what is really involved in bringing it to the web.
We built a little open source site on Joomla, and Joomla wasn't good enough, so we had to stitch it together with WordPress, and then we added our email system, and it just became a site that from day one was stuck together with sticky tape.
As I put these lessons together, I tried to cover a lot of different bases, and turned out I didn't feel weird talking to the camera. And I think one of the reasons that it sort of worked was because after all these years of teaching, when I was going to teach a song, whether it's having taught that to hundreds of people maybe, I now had a pretty good idea of the kind of obstacles that everybody was going to face, or that different people were going to face, and I could address them in the lessons. And if this doesn't even turn into a business, no big deal. I've always looked for an excuse to document what I've done as a guitar teacher. I was always, I guess, a little disturbed or frustrated by the fact that a student would come in for a lesson. We'd go over a bunch of stuff, and I remember thinking if they got 20 or 30% of what we just talked about and walked away with it, that was a very successful lesson. But the rest of it was essentially vapor, and unless they heard it again, maybe the next week, it was gone forever. So I like the idea of having these video lessons that would be, you could go back and watch any time, and all the info would be there. And sometimes you need to hear the same thing 6 times, 6 different ways, and then it finally makes sense. Sometimes you'll hear something, and until you've connected some other dots in an unrelated area, this can't make any sense. But 3 months later, when something over here clicked, now when you hear this again, it'll click. As it turned out, people liked them, and so we went live a few months after we started putting up all the free stuff. We launched the Target program.
To launch the site, we ran a live webinar, which at the time was a brand new concept, and I think we were running it for 6 or 7 hours.
We had, 700 people join us online around the world. A couple hundred probably signed up for the Target program.
Neil was the star, and by the end of that live event, TG really launched.
Yeah, actually I was just kind of searching YouTube, like 99% of the other guitarists in the world.
Yeah.
And I stumbled on his site and looked at some of the free sample lessons and everything, and really liked the way he put them together, and decided to go for it, and haven't looked back since.
Well, I started posting videos, just, of me singing, playing, like the others, for review, busking. Oh, I was just a student, really. Although I was really looking for teaching skills. And Neil's the best teacher ever. So, I learned a lot from him. So all of a sudden I got a PM, and it was like, whoa, wouldn't you want to do more for the site?
I think I was looking for a Jethro Tull song at the time. And I came across Neil, and then I loved what he played. He played it so well, and then I noticed all the other things, and I thought, this guy's teaching me my music, It was the right era of music, predominantly, and again, the completeness of the lessons is just taking it apart, just helps so much. So I think within 2 weeks of finding the site, I was a TG member. I just knew it was the right place.
Working with Matt has been mostly a joy, because it really has allowed me to do what I love to do, which is teach guitar.
I guess the biggest thing of all is Neil. Neil is like an older brother for me. I love him dearly. I love his family. So I've made a couple of amazing friends, and he's made a lot more because he's the star, and rightly so.
Not a day goes by where I just I don't think about that, and how neat it is that we've been able to take this to the world.
I got my first real 6-string, bought it at the 5 and dime, played it till my fingers bled. Was the summer of '69. Me and some guys from school had a band, and we tried real hard. Jimmy quit, Jody got married. Should've known we never get far. And when I look back now, the summer seemed to last forever. And when I held my hand, I knew that it days of my life.
Thank you, Neil.
Thank you, Neil.
Thank you, Neil.
Thank you, Neil.
It was the summer of '69.